When I think of the action movies of my childhood and my teenage years, I often think of several actors that sort of, I guess, dominated the screen. Obviously, I think of Stallone and Ford. And to a lesser degree, I think of like Gibson and Russell and Norris. I mean, there are others to be certain, but those are the ones that like immediately spring to my mind. But perhaps one of my favorite action heroes of those years of the 1980s and 1990s is Arnold Schwarzenegger. You got, my goodness, Commando, Predator, The Running Man, Terminator, T2, Judgment Day, among many others. But there was a moment, I think, where Arnold sort of announced himself as not just a star, but a type of cornerstone action star that would last for maybe the next 20 years. You could even say longer than that. In this video, I'm going to talk about a moment in Conan the Barbarian where I believe Arnold made that announcement to the world. Conan the Barbarian is something else. It was written and directed by John Milius and was based on the pulp novels of Robert E. Howard. You know, I read Howard's stories when I was younger, and from my recollection, and it's been a while, it was not like Conan the Barbarian, the movie, was not exactly the same as the books, or not, maybe you could say maybe not a completely faithful adaptation. I just remember the blending of characters, and I was a little confused as I read and then saw the movie. But in my opinion, it doesn't detract from the love I have for the film Conan the Barbarian. I mean, I love this movie. Conan the Barbarian has a solid screenplay by, as I said earlier, John Milius, but Oliver Stone was even brought in to punch up the script. And I really believe like Schwarzenegger realizes Milius's vision perfectly. The film is, you know, it's a revenge film. It tells the story of how Conan has lost his family to Thusula-Doom and his followers. And Thusula-Doom, by the way, is played brilliantly by James Earl Jones. And then Conan, after the loss of his family, he becomes a slave and then a gladiator, and eventually a free man. And Conan, you know, he wants wealth, and his journeys lead him to find some friends, and they eventually steal the jewel called the Eye of the Serpent. And this is, for me at least, this is where the story really gets interesting. You have King Osric, who hears about what Conan has done in his heist, and he asks Conan and his friends Subutai and Valeria to rescue his daughter from Thusula-Doom's cult. Conan's friends say no, but Conan knows Thusula and remembers what he did to his family. Obviously, Conan wants revenge. He doesn't care if he has to go it alone, and he does. Well, he fails, he's tortured, and he's crucified on the Tree of Woe. First, the Tree of Woe is so cool. I mean, I guess as far as as far as crucifixions go. But secondly, this sets up what is perhaps my favorite moment of Conan and the scene that this whole video is about. After saving Conan and bringing him back to health, Subutai and Valeria decide to go with Conan and help him fulfill his quest. I love this trio. It reminds me, and I don't mean this in a negative way, it reminds me of like a D&D party. The three characters complement each other so well, and all of their personalities mesh well. They're just fun to watch on the screen, especially when they raid the Temple of Set. And that raid is special. It's just a great sequence scene. I love it. First, you have this like cannibalistic orgy going on, and it honestly gives this sinister vibe. And Thusula, while this is all going on, he transforms into the snake, and I remember being completely transfixed of his transformation. It was unbelievable. This is dark magic, and it's a dark world, and Conan's going into it. The sets are amazing, and the music, oh my goodness, the music by Basil Polidoris is so overlooked. I don't get it. It might be one of the best scores to a film of the 80s, and it just seemed like no one recognized it when it came out as this amazing piece of music. And To this day, I can't believe it didn't get nominated for Academy Award at the Academy Awards for 1982. As the scene progresses, Conan and crew advance further into the temple until it's time to attack. Music is great. It just creates this incredible atmosphere. And man, attack they do. They set fire to parts of the temple. They rampage through the orgy. And then Conan squat lifts the giant human soup bowl onto his adversaries. I remember watching this as a kid and I was just blown away. I mean, let's put this in context for me. My favorite movies at that time were The Empire Strikes Back and Raiders of the Lost Ark. So when this happened, my mind was blown. I didn't know what to think, and I just knew I loved it. Of course, the moment that Arnold announces himself to the world is right here. I'm going to play the scene really quick and then chat about it. My God, the music does a lot of the lifting here, no pun intended. It is incredible, but Arnold had an amazing presence, and you cannot help but cheer him on to get his revenge. There's some amazing moments as Conan epically postures to prepare to fight. This moment, I think, is the star-turning moment, and from this moment on until the end of the film, you just can't look away from what's happening on the screen. And while I understand there are those that scoff at Arnold Schwarzenegger because he's not a great actor, I can't help but to say in this moment, he becomes a movie star and he embodies Conan and he just thoroughly entertains us as we watch this film. And he's going to do it for a long time to come. This was his announcement. What an amazing scene.